coming.
Hello, I'm Matt Berger from the Metro. We're here for the Don John press conference. It's coming out from Relativity Media on September 27th. And I want to introduce, they don't really need any introduction, I'm going to introduce them anyway. We have Tony Danza, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Scarlett Johansson, and Julianne Moore. So I'm going to hog the microphone really briefly and just pester them with my own question first. First off, how did you feel, this is for everybody, but also for Joseph, but how did you feel that this film wanted to comment on youth and relationships and sex and so forth, especially in relation to some of the more kind of like classic, 80s youth films and so forth?
Yeah, well, it's a movie about how we can sometimes have unrealistic expectations of each other and how media can contribute to that. And, I personally have worked in the media, working as an actor in TV and movies my whole life, and especially in the last few years, I've been hearing it a lot where people say, oh, I wish that my life was like it was in that movie, or I wish that I had someone like you in that movie. And when I hear that, frankly, I get a little startled sometimes because real life is not as simple as it is on a screen. And I think real life is actually a lot more beautiful. And there's a lot of details and nuances that you could never possibly capture in a movie or on a TV show or in a pornography clip or in a commercial or in a pop song. And so we wanted to kind of poke fun at comparing your real life to these expectations.
What about the other people in the cast? What do you guys think of the subject? Do you have any comments on it?
No.
Joseph summed it up right now.
It's just harder. It's so much easier to just push the button. It's harder. You have to actually, reciprocate. Huh? Louis De Palma used to say you got to talk to them. It's just.
Okay, comments or questions from anybody else here?
Hi, guys. Good morning.
Hello.
Joe, I have to ask you. Obviously, you wrote this film, and the bigger picture is that it is about addiction. So what was your research while you were writing this movie? Talk about how you came to be inspired to write something like this.
Well, yeah, like I was just saying, I think I was largely responding to the way that people seem to be reacting to all kinds of media. And, I thought that a story about a young man who watches too much pornography and a young woman who watches too many romantic Hollywood movies would be a good way of sort of bringing to light the way that we can all sometimes relate to all kinds of media, whether it's a pornography clip or a commercial for a hamburger. You see a woman on a screen and you reduce her to just a thing, a sex object. And that's something that I've been aware of really my whole life. My mom was always intent on making me aware of how that's a very common thing that happens in the media. My mom is very much active in the 60s and 70s and the feminist movement. And she was always really keen to make my brother and me aware of this happening. And so it's always something I've thought of. Yeah, in a lot of ways it is. It's me writing a sort of comedy about a lot of the wisdom that she wanted to instill me with, and she really loves the movie actually, and that she was one of the first ones to read the script, and it's been great getting to talk with her about it.
Was it always a comedy? Oh, actually, hold on, we need to get a microphone to you. I can yell. Was it always a comedy, or was there a darker version of it?
Well, the original idea in broad strokes, I didn't know it was going to be a comedy, and I was trying to figure out how it would be. And I hadn't landed on anything that I liked until I was actually I was working on 50/50, and up there in Vancouver with Seth Rogen and his whole gang. And I really like the movies that he makes. I mean, 50/50 is sort of it's a comedy, but it's a character-based comedy. The humor comes from the characters, from the feelings, and when I was in the middle of that, I was like, oh, what if I approached this concept with this tone? And that's when it really took off in my mind, and I really started writing it.
Hey guys, Kurt Osterlund with Details. My question is for Joe. This is going to sound like a loaded question, but hopefully you can just kind of fire off some quick responses. Anyone who's even seen the trailer knows that there are a few key things that the character cares about: his clothes, his pad, his car, his girls, his boys. I was hoping you could offer some of your own preferences in as many of those areas as you care to, like what kind of cars you like, where you like to go to the gym, what kind of porn you like, if you care to share, all that kind of stuff.
Me and this character are really different. I don't care very much about cars. I don't like bodybuilding, et cetera, et cetera.
I do.
Hi, this one is for Tony, Tiffany DeMedio, Eclipse Magazine. You and Joseph actually worked together. This probably seems like a lifetime ago. When
For
he was just a
him.
kid. For him, yes, for him. He was just a kid. Angels in the Outfield. What's it like now, so many years later, and he's basically running the show, writer, director, actor. It's his company behind it. What was the experience like for both of you, actually?
And he gave me the job. So, it starts from there. I always had a sort of a paternalistic thing for Joe. He was 12 when we worked together. And and even then you could see he was, not only a talented kid, but he was driven. He used to say he wanted to follow the director instead of hang out with me. It was just crazy. But
We hung out.
yeah, I know. I'm just kidding. But it was really. I took a lot of pride. I sort of felt great for him because I knew this was important. And I've said this, and like I said, I don't want to just kiss his ass in public, but I think the writing is really the thing that really stands out. I mean, he's a very good director. He has a very strong hand, very clear vision. It makes it very easy for you, and it's a fun set. Everybody's we're having a great time, but the writing is so very strong and easy. It just I said it to him. I hate to say this, but I said he wrote this. I was like, when I got it. So. That's what I was thrilled to be part of it, and it's like I feel a little like I'm proud of I'm proud of this kid.
Thanks. Thank you.
Good morning, Audrey Bernard, Radioscope. Well, first of all, Tony, I think you remember Studio 54.
Oh yeah.
And this brought back memories of Studio 54. We weren't as crazy as the kids are today.
Oh no, we were crazy.
Yeah.
Oh come on. Oh come
But,
on. Are you kidding?
Well, nowadays with Molly, all these different things going out. Do you think that this movie is promoting bad behavior with the young people?
Can I answer? Can I just take a shot at that? I actually think, first of all, I love the movie, but I actually think it's an important movie for kids to see. Because it's a cautionary tale. It really does, and there's absolutely blatant warnings in there, about using condoms, about relationships. But I just think it's an important movie for so many reasons. I think the opposite is true. That instead of propagating bad behavior, it's actually calling on people to go, am I doing that? That's another question.
What do you think about how they would perceive of you in this movie? Because when you had a TV show, that's all you spoke about was your family, the mores, and all of that.
Yeah.
And then you see a movie like this, which
But-
I'm not saying I didn't like the movie. I'm just
No, but I think the characterization sort of connotes that it's this it's provocative certainly, but I don't think it's a movie that I watched Two Guns the other day. I think that's what's the problem, is that you have movies where people are killing each other left and right. I think this is a love story. I don't see how this is this could be a bad influence.
Well, just to add, I mean,
Please do.
Well, it's a satire, and I think it's pretty clear that the characters in the movie are not heroes and not exhibiting exemplary behavior. I think that's clear.
Well, wait a minute, that's not necessary.
So I thought that watching it yesterday, Barbara and John are kind of extreme gender stereotypes, where they are extreme versions of what they think a guy and a girl should be like. Do you think that Barbara's sort of distaste and disdain for porn plays into that? Like, is that part of it? Do girls think that guys watching porn is gross, or girls shouldn't be watching porn, or was that just a function of her character?
I mean, I think girls watch porn. They probably watch more porn than guys do. I mean, you know, and I think actually and we talked about this a little bit, but I think that if the main problem that Barbara has is that, you know, she's being lied to, and that's what really, I mean, I think if they had a conversation about it or whatever, maybe she would be more accepting of, I mean, obviously not his addiction, but whatever, maybe she would just think, oh, you know, that's like gross or whatever. But the fact is, maybe she could have had her opinion changed or like her mind expanded or I don't know, whatever. But the problem is really that he's lying to her. It's not that she's like so against porn that, you know, it's like that's not what devastates her. You know, it's just the fact that he's someone that she didn't know, you know, didn't expect. I think she's so totally shocked by it and or didn't want to see or wasn't curious about. I mean, that's the problem. But, you know, it was, he's basically, it's like, for her, it's almost like her boyfriend has like a family up the block that she never knew about or something.
That's right, yeah.
I mean, it's like he suddenly appears to be a completely different person than she wanted to see or imagined. And I think, but I think girls do much more. I don't think that's necessarily the point you were trying to get across, you know, was that women don't like porn or that it's disgusting to them or whatever.
No, sure, and I don't think that either John or Barbara are meant to be, well, all girls are this way and all boys are that way. I think these are two examples of characters that, like you said, are really intent on fitting into dominant ideas, conventional ideas. There's you know, the character that Julie plays, Esther, is an example of someone who's very much her own person.
Yeah, which is why I liked it. I mean, you know, upon reading the script, the great thing about Esther is that due to her circumstances, she's someone who can't be anything less than 100% authentic, which is a hard thing to be. But because of where she is, she doesn't have the energy or the strength for anything else, you know. So she literally is going from moment to moment. And Joe wrote her in contrast to these other characters who are very much trying to have their behavior circumscribed by a gym culture, by a club culture, by a romantic comedy culture, a porn culture, a religious one. You know, there are all these things we set up to kind of we think they're guidelines, but they can entrap you as well.
Good morning. This is for Joseph. What did you find most challenging about wearing so many hats on this project?
Well, the hardest part was the very beginning alone, because I think anytime you set out to make something, anybody is going to be confronted by those voices in your head that say, you don't need to do this, someone else could do this better, you should probably just quit right now. And certainly I met those voices too, and those are difficult to overcome. I think the only reason I did finish writing the script was just because I was having a lot of fun doing it. And I sort of just like, well, maybe it won't come to anything. I'm not going to worry about that now. This is making me laugh. I'm having a good time, so I'm going to keep writing it. And then once I had a draft, I started showing it to people. And once I got some positive feedback, Scarlett was one of the first people that I showed it to. And when she really liked it, and we had these really interesting conversations based on what I had written, those voices of doubt started going away and being replaced by voices of real people. And there was still a ton of work to do, hard work, but from that point forward, it is a different kind of challenge.
Awesome. Hi there. Each of you have very strong characters and personalities. So, where did you get your inspiration to create your characters? Like, have you met people like your characters in real life, or what did you do to get into the mindset and to get into the personalities of your characters? And this is for everybody.
Yeah, you guys answer this.
No, well, don't look at me. Well, you
Well, like Tony said, the script was very strong. It was really unusual. The language was great. It was very funny. It was very touching. When you have that kind of when you have that language, that's really what you need, because you can't make it up. It's really hard when somebody says you can be whoever you want to be, and you're like, that's kind of how we work, actors. You start with the script, and honestly, that was sort of everything. That was all I drew on.
Well, I think that one thing that was so attracted to was this idea that this character is. Barbara's got a lot of conviction, and she's got a lot of it, and she's I think sort of guilty of what. I don't know, I certainly am, and I'm sure a lot of people are, is, wanting your partner to fit into the little box you've made for them, and then, that way they can be more like you, and everything will be great. And, of course, real life doesn't work like that, but she really believes that to be true, and I just played her with as much kind of conviction as she has, and also, when Joe and I would have conversations, if we were kind of being our characters, trying to come up with some dialogue, or how to expand some of the scenes, or so forth, and everything that he would kind of throw at me, I could just throw back at him with this but this is how it is, or this is what I think, or this is the way this is how it should be, or this is the way it needs to be. And so if we could just when we acted together, we just kind of continue that dialogue of just stay a very focused person. She's got her eyes on the prize, and I think like I said, I think we've all been that person in some way. She's just got a lot of that part of our personality.
I've had dinner with my character. I know a few people who are disconnected, and who are living their own world, and still have to be the king of the roost, or whatever it is, the chicken or something. Whatever. But I do know people like that. Yes.
I think we all know or have this sounds maybe like a cliche. I think we all have a certain amount of Don Juan, that classic. There's a reason this is a classic literary figure from throughout the ages. So we all have a little bit of that archetype, that Don Juan in us, that person who's just really selfish and just wants what they want and doesn't care about the consequences and doesn't care what anybody else thinks or feels, and treats everybody in the world like just a thing, like an object on the shelf, and doesn't really consider their perspective. It's very tempting to do that because it's easy. It's
You're making me think about my life.
And mine. I mean, look, we all, like I'm saying, I'm as culpable as anybody probably. We all have that tendency, and so then what was fun though was about taking that sort of idea, that concept, and being like, okay, but a character has to be more than a concept. It has to be, a person, and fleshing that out, and that was fun in the writing process to think about, okay, well then, so what does he do day to day? Why is he this way? What are his parents like? What is he? Oh, well, I guess he probably cares about his body a lot because he wants to look good. So he'd probably go to the gym a lot, and would he go to church? All those questions became really what was interesting to me, and then taking it off the page and having human beings and great artists begin to embody those characters. That was certainly the most exciting part of the whole multi-year process. I think that's kind of the most exciting thing for anything you've made, is more than a good review or a round of applause or a good box office score or anything like that. If somebody else, another artist, has taken what you've done and used it to express themselves, that's so thrilling. So watching these actors bring more to it than what I had ever imagined was really the most fun part.
Okay, we have time for one more question. So,
To Joseph again. This feels very, very different from anything that you've done before, but obviously you've worked with a lot of filmmakers at this point. So I was wondering if maybe there was something surprising about different aspects of the process that you maybe got tips from, you could remember that you picked up something from this director that you worked with or that director that you worked with. And also, just very quickly, I was wondering if anywhere in the process of the casting or the characterization of Barbara, if Scarlett's Marble Columns SNL skit came up at all, because it just seemed like maybe that was like I don't know, boot camp for Barbara or something like that.
I was absolutely impressed about Scarlett's multiple turns on SNL, and she's a really extraordinary actress in that she can balance that comedy with sincerity, and I think that's really evident in Lost in Translation or Vicky Cristina Barcelona and any number of other movies we could bring up. That's a hard balance to strike, and she does it masterfully, and that was certainly a big part of why I always thought of her.
This press conference is going great. I just love it.
What do you have to say?
Keep going. Tell us about your director.
Yes, you asked about directors that I've worked with. So I was really fortunate. The year before shooting Don John, I worked with Rian Johnson, and then Christopher Nolan, and then Steven Spielberg, and they're three, extraordinary filmmakers. They're this guy.
He could do a backflip. I just want you to know that. He can do a backflip right here. He can stand there and do a backflip. Do you know that? He can do a backflip.
Okay, all right. These are three very different filmmakers.
Forget about that director stuff.
But I'll tell you one thing that I noticed that I think all three of them have in common is the ability to balance a thorough plan with a sense of spontaneity. Because that's what you really need, I think, on a movie set is all day long you're getting those questions of, well, we thought we were going to do it this way, but actually, now that we're here, how about this? And you have to decide whether to stick to your guns or to, go off on a new trail. And I definitely noticed that Ryan and Steven and Chris had a really good sense of balancing those. Because if you answer one way or the other too heavily, if you're too married to your plan, you'll end up with something maybe kind of stale. But if you don't stick to your plan enough, and you're too seduced by whimsical notions and new ideas, you can kind of lose your train of thought and end up with something that doesn't have a solid through line. So I always try to keep that in the front of my mind. Am I balancing this right? Am I too attached to my preconceived notions of this, or am I too lured in by new ideas? And that's something I certainly noticed from those three directors.
Great. Thank you so much. We have to wrap it up. I'm sorry.
How do you stay in such great shape? I want to know.
So please remain seated while they leave, and the movie comes out on September. Anyway, please remain seated while they leave. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.